congratulations to Liangzhu ancient city here in Hangzhou, which is about another evidence for Chinese ancient civilization. Hello everyone, I'm reporter Wu Lei here in Hangzhou. Over the next few minutes, we are going to do a live streaming about the highlights of the Liangzhu ancient city. As we know that it was firstly discovered in 2007. I mean the main body of the ancient city. Over the past few years, archaeologists have been excavating that area, and today, because we couldn't go there, the archaeological park has been shut down because it's not ready to open to the public. It will be set to open to the public next Monday. So today we can only do the live streaming here in the Liangzhu Museum. But for more highlights about the Liangzhu Archaeological Park and also the highlights of the cultural relics excavated in the Liangzhu ancient city, let's take a closer look about the short video, and my colleague in Beijing will play that video for us. Look at these fascinating jade objects. They are over 5,000 years old. Archaeologists excavated them in the ruins of Liangzhu city of Hangzhou in Zhejiang province. From exquisite jade artifacts to pottery, various burial objects were found in numerous funeral plots. Liu Bing and other archaeologists have been excavating Liangzhu relics since the 1980s.
Over 5,000 years ago, communities emerged along the rivers in ancient Egypt and India. Our archaeological discovery shows Liangzhu was also a state-level society.
With the ruins of ancient Liangzhu city first discovered in 2007, archaeologists have since embarked on a journey to unravel the mysteries of the Chinese civilization evolving there at the time. Various animals and symbolic characters were inscribed on these pottery jars and even jade artworks. Experts say it shows Liangzhu ancestors started to record their ways of life about 5,000 years ago, a landmark discovery in tracking down the beginning of Chinese writing characters. To better promote Liangzhu culture, the Liangzhu Museum was redesigned to attract more visitors from home and abroad.
Next, we plan to create more comic books and even creative products to largely promote Liangzhu culture among the younger generations.
Liangzhu ancient city is considered another evidence of the ancient Chinese civilization. It is also the first Neolithic site in China to be submitted for World Heritage status.
Applying for the World Heritage list will also help better preserve this ancient civilization. Things people from across the world will know about it.
Liangzhu's excavation is still underway, and local authorities are using the latest technologies and facilities to monitor the sites. They also set to open the Liangzhu Archaeological Park soon, in order to help people get more information about the city's glorious past. Wu Lei, CGTN, Hangzhou. As you can see, all these relics were excavated from Liangzhu ancient city. And today we're going to tour this Liangzhu Museum, as most of these relics were kept here, and visitors from home and abroad can come here and take a closer look. And today we're going to do the live streaming in our CGTN app and also our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. So if you have any question or any comment, please tell us, and we are going to tell you more about this Liangzhu site. And today I'm very glad to be joined by the senior lecturer from Zhejiang University, Mr. Zhu Xiaoyu.
Yes.
And he has been studying the Liangzhu culture over the past few years. And hello, Mr. Zhu, can you please say hello to our audience? Yeah, I'll hold it.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm from Zhejiang University, and I'm studying Liangzhu culture and translating for it as well. Thank you.
So, studying the Liangzhu culture for several years. So, which impressed you most about all the Liangzhu relics? Can you please tell us what's your impression?
The property that has been inscribed onto the World Heritage List is...
Please, let's take a closer look about this pottery, and let's walk and talk, okay?
Okay, sure. It's not really pottery that I'm most impressed, but it's a very big part of its culture. Basically, Liangzhu culture is a very ancient culture.
About 5,000 years.
More than 5,000 years. And it represents the highest achievement of a regional early state in East Asia, with rice cultivating agriculture as its economy. So it's a very large scale civilization with a lot of manpower and management capacity.
Yeah, as we can see, all these pottery, actually they were broken to pieces, and archaeologists have been made them up to present here for all the visitors.
The pottery artifacts are mainly containers.
Containers.
And
so what kind of functions do these ancestors use in the back to 5,000 years ago?
Mainly they are there to hold water, hold food,
water, and other materials.
and other liquid materials, and like rice, which they are cultivating, and other things as well.
But look at these shapes. It's really impressive. It's really interesting.
So the color as well. The black pottery of Liangzhu culture is very famous. When it was first discovered by Mr. Shi Xingeng in 1936, it was named the black pottery, located in Yuhang district, this area.
So back that time, people knew that how to make different colors on the pottery, right?
Right. So they use different kinds.
Actually, as we know,
Everything. I think the inscription on the World Heritage List for the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu City were more interested in all this culture, and they will come to visit the museum more, and also the every other sites.
Look at this animal bones. It's bones of a pig, right?
Yes, it's a boar, and it is estimated that such wild boar or wild pig has been domesticated, according to archaeological studies, according to the...
So ancestors knew how to raise pigs, how to get food from it, right?
Yes, it should not be a very large part of the source of food, but it can be part of it. They have meat, and certainly they domesticated pigs.
So they have found numerous animal bones in the Liangzhu city.
A lot of them. And this is a pig, and there we have deer and other animals as well.
So from these animals, we can imagine that back that time, the environment, ecology was very good, right?
Yes, today it is good as well, because it has been well protected. So ecological environment is very important to preserve
environment is really very good. And come here for the tourism, they can enjoy the scenery about this area,
Right.
and also
These are stone tools.
The stone tools here excavated in
Yes.
Liangzhu city, which is about 5,000 years history.
Yes, stone pottery tools are usually made by the Liangzhu ancestors to help them live. It's different from the jade and the other artifacts we're going to see later.
Okay.
So stone and pottery and bones are used to help making things and help them live in.
There are different shapes of stones and different functions, right?
Right. I suppose the Liangzhu ancestors are very smart, or they are as smart, at least, as the other ancestors in other cultures at the same time. So you can see the arrowheads, and these are chisels and adze so that you can cut into stones.
Yeah. Because 5,000 years ago, it's a Neolithic age.
Right.
At that time, people make metal. They have the only tool that stone. You're right.
Yes.
But look at these shapes. It's really
Right. These are supposed to have been used for plowing the earth.
agriculture.
And the meat.
The textiles, because in the agriculture area, the women will mainly be responsible for this kind of work, textile, and we can see from these relics excavated in Liangzhu city, the women use different tools to make different clothes, maybe?
Actually, for me, I'm not so sure. It's women who do the work, but supposedly it should be.
Yeah.
And actually, it's one of the only jade artifacts that has been used for daily use. It's not for decoration or for ceremonial purposes, but really for making
But
weaving.
this is ivory.
Yes, we call it ivory sapphire. Stick for power. It's
Represents power, authority.
Yes, it's used. It's held by the ruler of the army, so that they can. It's like this. He can command his army.
So the bone tools that they can use to make clothes, they can use to make other things easier, make their life easier.
Yes, because you don't
And,
have metal tools.
Yes. As you can see, there are still some which is make their king to holding some
Mainly containers. Wine, or we don't have wine, but wine-like liquids.
Let's take a closer look about this colorful lacquerware.
Lacquerware. Lacquerware is one of the unique products of Liangzhu culture. Very beautiful. If you can see the color of it,
These are the real pictures of this lacquerware.
I think it is restored. But these ones that you see in the pictures on the right are the ones that's the real ones
That's
when they
the
are
real
on Earth.
picture when they were excavated.
Right, because it has been buried in earthen tombs for a long time, so they have to be restored to see their original color.
Yeah.
And some of them has been inlaid with jade pieces.
Jade pieces. It's jade,
Right.
which also represents a kind of power or their fashion or beauty.
I think the latter, not really power, but they can be very beautiful. You can see the
This one. This one looks really very good. It was decorated with jade and other.
yes. So it's supposed to be a water or wine.
Okay.
It should be possessed by some nobles,
Some rich people,
Right.
someone who has power.
Yes.
Okay. So this is also some relics from this wood
It's a
in
kind of
different shapes.
So you can see you can use them to like a spoon. I mean, when you take rice up from a large container, or when you want to use a spade to earth, then you need to use this.
So these are the daily tools that we used about.
Yes.
Okay. This is kind of another.
Yes. The
Wooden spining top.
Yes.
Wooden spining top. And actually here in China, even in modern days, that I can see some children in the rural area still play this kind of games, right?
Have you played that?
No, but I saw someone play it.
I did.
You did it?
Yes, I think
It's a similar game?
very similar.
Very similar shapes.
Very similar shapes. Only that you won't have such a steel ball at the head of it, but they can make it very round. So when it was being played on the ground, it can be easily.
That's very interesting because if you can imagine that over 5,000 years ago, the children or someone just played like this.
I think children are alike. They have to find it interesting to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think these are made by their parents. So they can.
The parents made this kind of special tools for them to play.
Yes.
So all these are the relics excavated in the Liangzhu ancient city here in Hangzhou in Zhejiang province. So if you have any question about Liangzhu culture, and you can just tell us and leave us a comment. As we can see, this is a wood model excavated here. This is archaeologists have just rebuilt this kind of house model to show that where do they live that in that area.
Yes, this is exactly the kind of models or houses, or we can call it cottages, that archaeologists believe people living at that time. It can be very low. I think it's very low. When you live in it, you will find it's not very high.
Because this is a village house.
Yes.
And because archaeologists have found several houses, different shapes and different sites. Like this was a village house, but this one is a noble house. It should be a kind of palace, right?
Yes, because the city site, that's one of the four components of the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu city, has a triple centripetal structure, which has in the core of it, in the center of it, the palace area. And it is believed that in the palace area, where the royal family live and pray or offer sacrifice,
this kind of big house.
Yes, they would have much larger, bigger ones. So these ones are much larger than the ones found in the inner city, where people of less priority or less importance live.
So you can imagine that over 5,000 years ago, these people are living in this area, living in this kind of houses. And this, as we can see, that CCTV Chinese channel, the reporter is doing live here, because today, as we can see, that Liangzhu culture has been the latest World Cultural Heritage list. And we're going to another pavilion. So if you have any comment, and please leave us a comment. Okay, here I can see my colleague just sent me some comments in our CGTN app. Someone called Mustafa Al-Bashir, he's watching from Somalia. And also Kim said, hello everyone, happy Saturday, wow, it's amazing. Okay, hope you enjoy it. And this was the first gallery, first exhibition hall, and we are going to show you more about the Liangzhu cultures. So, Mr. Zhu, as we mentioned earlier, that the archaeologists have found many water or river channels in this area, which shows that Liangzhu was a very advanced water city.
Yes.
So, can you tell us more about the water system in this area?
Sure. Today, if you have ever heard of the G20 summit
Yes.
and the World Internet Conference. When they come here, they call the cities around this place. We are now in Hangzhou, Zhejiang Province, the capital city of Zhejiang Province.
Yeah.
We call ourselves water cities.
Water cities.
So we have a lot of water channels and river courses around.
Okay.
And I believe it's similar around 5,000 years ago. It can be even more watery around here.
So back to 5,000 years, there must be a lot of water here.
A lot of water. And that's why the other component of the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu city, the dams or the embankments are being made to hold the water from invading into the land of Liangzhu culture.
Yes.
And also water has been used to help the water transportation in different areas.
So if the Liangzhu ancestor need to, say, to transport something very heavy, the
Right.
water channel or river channel may provide a better transportation for them.
Yes, according to current estimation, it is exactly how they used stone and clay from nearby mountains. They
Okay.
transported clay and stone
Okay.
to the area where they built the dams and the city site.
Okay. So we are now in the third exhibition hall of the Liangzhu Museum. And this area, we are going to talk about the jade culture and also this one, their face. Because we have so many jade. Especially jade is a very important component about Chinese culture. And Liangzhu ancestors are no exception because we have found numerous and delicate jade objects in their tombs. And like these kind of shapes are called jade cong.
Yes.
And so could you please tell us more about the jade cong?
Yes. Jade tone is a representative shape of jades or ceremonial jades unearthed from Liangzhu culture. And you can see the typical form of it is that it's a long column which is round inside and square on the outside. And you can see different shapes or patterns.
What does
carved
it
on
represent?
It represents
and
the
earth?
yes, heaven and earth. Actually, it in a way symbolizes the authority of the deity.
Okay.
It is believed that Liangzhu culture has unified belief in one deity. And
Why? Why is that? How do you...
there's a lot of investigation into how these different kind of jade has been used in different tombs for people of different status.
Okay.
And especially if you want to look at, we are going to look at the patterns on these jades. If you look at them, you can see the so-called deity and animal motif.
Yeah.
That's the combination of a deity and an animal. So it means that a kind of deity from heaven is using, yes, you can see that.
Like this one? This
Yes.
is a motif and emblem for the Liangzhu people.
Right, we call it the royal emblem or the deity and animal motif.
Yes.
So down below, the green part is the animal, and you can see the claws.
Animal mask.
Yes, it represents an animal that has been
And
used.
it's a combination of different animals, right?
Yes, several different animals, birds and those other animals
And
as well.
in the upper side is a human, right?
Right.
Like this one?
It's a human or it's the deity, that the god that people worship. So this is the kind of motif that has been regarded as the unique pattern that has been carved onto jade cong. So it represents the power of the deity, the power of God.
So we have a new comment asking why Liangzhu ruins was just inscribed into World Cultural Heritage List recently, today actually. So could you please tell us what are the conditions? So what kind of archaeology ruins can apply for the World Cultural Heritage?
There are a set of different criteria,
Criteria or conditions.
that has to be met to become a World Heritage.
So what are the conditions? What are
yes,
the
there
criteria?
are criteria. I can give you a feel. It's according to the operational guidelines for the implementation of the World Heritage Convention. So for Liangzhu, the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu city especially, it satisfies criterion 3, which says that it should provide unique testimony for a civilization that is living or that has disappeared. So the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu city has proved that there existed this Liangzhu culture, which is about 5,000 years to 4,000 years ago.
So all these relics have proved that Liangzhu really existed and its civilization.
Right. The immovable relics, including the jade, the pottery, and stone artifacts, and the city site with its city walls and the palace area, and the jade processing area, and the rice cultivating agriculture, and everything. So this is some of the facts that helped Liangzhu to meet the criterion 3 in this category, and criterion 4 as well. For it should be a representation of a kind of architecture or building that is representative or illustrates a special stage of human history.
Yes.
And we can see that the building of the city site with the palace area in the middle, in the center, and the inner city with the walls enclosing the palace area. And outside we have the outer city terraces where people live on the city walls around it.
So that is why Liangzhu can apply for the World Cultural Heritage List, because
Right,
it has
criteria.
there are some necessary criteria that you have to meet with so that you can apply for the World Heritage
And
status.
also, yes, integrity and authenticity. That it should be authentic. It should be real.
Of course, should be
It-
natural and authentic.
It should not be something reconstructed, something that has been
human-made,
destructed,
yes.
or and should be integral. That means
Yeah.
it should be intact.
As Mr. Zhu just mentioned, that the archaeological park is very big and there are many numerous and delicate, fascinating jade objects have been excavated from that area. As we can see, all these are called Jade B, right?
Right. This is Jade B. It's a kind of plaque with a hole inside. It is kind of believed to be a kind of variation of jade cong with a round inside, the round hole inside.
What did they use this kind of Jade B?
Jade B later on in our culture, in Chinese culture, 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, has been mostly used for decoration.
Decoration?
You might know
To
this.
show your wealth, to show your...
Yes. But at that time, it is supposed to be something also for ceremonial purposes.
to the
They hold it
religious
to,
activities.
Yes, to worship the heaven, etc.
Okay. So all these relics were excavated in the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu ancient city, and we know that all these are jade objects in different shapes, in different functions.
Mostly jade artifacts are used for ornamental purposes. You can see the holes. They have different holes on the jade artifacts. So you can use a single thread to go through it, and then you can put it on your clothes, on your head.
As a decoration.
Yes, as a decoration. So these
So
are mainly
at
ornaments.
that time, the jade actually was kind of very soft. It can be made into different shapes,
No.
different materials.
Right, they have a complete process of making jade, as it is discovered in
As
the.
you can see, it's
yes,
really so small, but it's so fascinating.
right.
You can imagine that how much time that the ancestor need to carve or do something on it.
Right. This
Really-
is supposed to be a hook
Yeah.
where you can use a band through it on your head or on your. It's a kind of belt, so you can use it. They use a lot of time. There are specialized craftsmen who are working on these.
So all these relics were preserved very well underground.
So when it was unearthed, you can imagine the thread that has been linking them has already decayed.
Yes.
So they have been scattered in the tombs. And so it was kind of reconstructed.
The main city of Liangzhu was first discovered in 2007, and later more relics and more tombs have been excavated in this area. One of the tombs we just went there. This tomb is called Fanshan Cemetery, and that was one of the most important discoveries in the Liangzhu ancient city, because in that tomb, one of the largest jade tomb was discovered, and it showed that the jade objects have shown that there are different nobles, different class of people were lived at that time.
Yes.
Because different people may have different burial objects.
Right. We call it stratified tombs. So tombs are generally divided into 4 different levels.
Different levels.
Yes, according to the quantity and quality and shape or kind or type of artifacts being discovered in those tombs.
Yeah.
And the royal tomb, or the royal cemetery, as we call it, the Fanshan Cemetery, were unearthed in 1986. And as you said, in one of the tombs, tomb M12, were discovered the largest quantity and the best quality of jade, especially the jade cong. We call it the king of jade cong and the king of jade yue. Jade cong is the column-like jade, and jade yue is the axe-like jade. It is believed to have been used as a scepter. You can see the reconstruction.
So this is a kind of painting to show that different shapes of jades are used in different functions, but mainly for decoration.
It should mainly when they were being buried. So you can see that they use this jade, we call it the king of jade yue. It's like an axe.
It's a symbol of their power
military
and authority.
Power and authority.
Military. Why military?
Because they have to command a kind of army for defense reasons. Or
so this should be a king, a noble king.
Yes. It's supposed to be the headman or the chief of the society.
So because as we mentioned that tomb 12, which was discovered in the Fanshan Cemetery, was the largest, and so it has excavated over 1,000 pieces of relics, but over 90% of them are jade objects.
Yes. So you can see that the jade tone has been held by the hand, or it can be used as a kind of bracelet-like objects. So that is a kind of indication of their power from the deity. So they can be regarded as the person who speaks for God. And this is a secular power, the power that represents or symbolizes their secular power among the people. That's why I think it symbolizes the power to command the people or the army. So
they also found some place for religious activity, as we mentioned, because in this city, the city is really very big. The archaeological park is only, which is open to the public, that only 3.6 square kilometers. But for the whole area that's submitted for the World Cultural Heritage is over 14 square kilometers. So that you can imagine that how much labor and time will be needed to build a city like this.
Yes. It is estimated that
as you can see, this was replicas of one of the tombs.
Yes, that's how you can see. It was supposed when the nobility or the royal family members were being buried, these jade and stone
dozens
artifacts
of jade objects were buried with him
as the burial objects.
Yeah, this is not a real tomb. This is replicas of this. Reconstructed for public to visit, to have a better understanding about the ancient civilization, about the jade culture, over 5,000 years ago. This
Yes.
is Fanshan
Fanshan
number 2.
tomb, yes,
Number
tomb 14.
Yeah.
Right. And just now we mentioned that the early regional state of Liangzhu has a lot of manpower. That's because the estimated workload for the piling of the city site, the
Okay.
piling or the stacking of the city walls, and also the stacking of the embankments, the dams to hold water, has been around 10 million cubic meters of earth and stone.
Wow.
So
That's very large.
yeah, so it's going to take like 10,000 people decades.
Decades.
To, continuous work.
We know the archaeologists told me that the Liangzhu city actually lasted for more than 1,000 years, right?
Yes.
But why did it disappear just suddenly? Did you get any evidence or anything to show that the reason about this disappearance?
So actually, it has been at the early exhibition hall. It is said that before Liangzhu, we have a certain culture already. Before that, and we can see that the rise of the number of settlements, are increasing, and there are more products they have been making.
Yeah.
And later on, after 1,000 years or so time, there was a sharp decline of settlements and the traces for the living of people. But then we do have cultures after that, indicating the inheritance and the continuity after Liangzhu culture.
Yeah.
I'm not an archaeologist,
Yes.
so I don't think I have any conclusions, but people are saying that at that time, when Liangzhu culture disappears from this place, there had been great flood.
Great flood.
Yes, there had been.
Liangzhu was a water city back then, so great flood may be one of the major reasons for its disappearance.
Right, because there are many reasons that we can see there is an increasing population during the Liangzhu period. And the inner city walls, very wide city walls, has in the beginning, there are not many people living on the city walls, but because of the increasing population, there are more people living on the city walls. And generally, we can see that the management of this whole city site has been also declining. So it might because of the big flood and the people cannot really handle it.
Okay.
So people moved elsewhere to continue the civilization.
Okay, so we got another new comment. Who is asking what benefits Liangzhu ruins can gain after being inscribed into the World Heritage List. So can you tell us more about after Liangzhu became the latest World Cultural Heritage, what benefits will it gain?
Certainly, if you see that it gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So like what we are doing.
From home and abroad, other
Right.
global visitors.
Right. We have already been a lot of work going on in this place, but with more attention from the world, we can get more interest and maybe more support from all over the world.
Okay.
And of course, when it was inscribed onto the World Heritage List, then I think people all around, including government of China and also the international institutions involved, will have more attention paid to the protection and management of it. Okay. Of course, there had been already very, very complete, I would say, quite improved system already in place. But when we have more attention on this place, I think there will be enhanced level of protection.
So you will take more measures to protect this World Heritage site. As we can see that this is another chart to show that there are different classes of people living in Liangzhu, ancient city. We have royalty, we have nobility, and also we have craftsmanship and warrior and also civilian. So how did we get this kind of conclusion?
That's because if you look at the left side, the different kind of burial objects being discovered, and also the number of them. For example, in the royal cemeteries, largest number of Jade cong and Jade yue were being discovered, and for the nobility tombs, also Jade cong and Jade yue, but much fewer. And then for the craftsman and the warrior, you don't find the Jade cong and Jade yue because they are only for the aristocrats or the nobles.
Okay.
And for the civility or the commoners of that society, you can only find some stone.
Very few very objects, like
Yes.
stone, like
Or
the
pottery. Right.
something like this.
Yes.
So Liangzhu actually, from all these archaeological discoveries, Liangzhu was actually a state-level society,
Yes.
and but it also lasted for more than 1,000 years. But at that time, there is no record of their life. People or ancestors could only record their way of life on these potteries because, as we can see, there were many birds, there were some animals, and also some descriptions on the potteries.
Yes, there are very simple symbols being carved or scratched on the pottery, and we can see the patterns that has been made or carved onto jade and stone artifacts. We have the birds, we have the dragon, we have the deity and animal motif, and these are all the traces left by our ancestors. And of course, we can see the kind of technology they have inscribed onto the building of the city site and the building of the water conservancy system. It's very ingenious choice of sites and the using of different technologies. For example, they use a kind of, we call it a grass-wrapped silt. It's like the sandbags.
The houses?
Yes, they use weeds to hold silt or mud inside so that they can be stronger. And they pile them together to build the dams.
That's the work of archaeologists. They have to find some evidence from all these relics and to tell the story, to try to tell what kind of life do these ancestors live over 5,000 years ago.
Yes, think about it as a kind of a civilization almost lost and suddenly discovered, and it's just
very interesting.
Yes, just under your feet. You have a civilization living 5,000 years ago, and they were living people like you, and they speak maybe a kind of different language, and they build those jade artifacts, pottery, and stone artifacts, and they eat and live with their children, their parents. And they go out hunting and cultivating rice. And also they build these large projects of the city, the capital city of Liangzhu, the kingdom of Liangzhu, or I think the center of Liangzhu culture. And those dams, the water conservancy system to store
this is a water
cold
city.
water. Yes, so this is really amazing if you look at them, how these people have lived 5,000 years ago with their own technology and their own style of life.
This is the Jade cong, the largest one.
Yes, this is the king of Jade cong.
Excavated from Tomb 12 in the Fanshan Cemetery.
No, it's not. It's
Yaoshan. Okay, it's from another side. So Jade cong, many Jade cong was discovered in these tombs.
In the nobility level and upper level cemeteries, a lot of Jade cong were being discovered. So they appear in those important tombs where the occupant should be very high in social status. Right. And the jade yue, the axe as well. Because the handle, you can see of it, should be something organic, so it has
like
decayed.
Wood,
right.
Like.
So in the end, what we can see is just the axe itself. But in Fanshan Tomb M12, the jade yue and jade cong were being discovered together.
At the same time.
Right. So in the same tomb. So it indicates that at that time, they have already belief of the deity being combined into kingship or leadership. So the leadership can
the chief.
Yes, the chief of the secular power of the people also represents the person, the representative sent by the god into this earth.
So at that time, the Liangzhu ancestors have the same faith or religious they can worship, because the density was found in many jades and
Yes.
in many objects.
And they have almost the same motif.
Same motif.
Yes, so we call it the divine emblem. So
Divine
with the deity and animal
Yeah.
motif or pattern. So it means that it has been unified. They are believing in a single deity.
Okay. So thank you so much. That's Senior Lecturer Zhu Xiaoyu from Zhejiang University for giving us a very insight discussion about the Liangzhu culture. As we know, the excavation is still underway. The archaeologists are still working somewhere in the archaeological ruins of Liangzhu ancient city, and most of the relics excavated have been kept here. And the visitors can come here to take a closer look about these relics, and they can also go to the newly built archaeological park, which is about several kilometers far away from here. That place is set to be open to the public next Monday. But in order not to interrupt the archaeological work, every day only 3,000 visitors can go there. So if you are really interested in the Liangzhu culture over 5,000 years ago, you can book the ticket in advance and you can go there, take a closer look. And that's pretty very much for our live streaming. And I'm reporter Wu Lei, live streaming for the Liangzhu culture from Liangzhu Museum in Hangzhou city of Zhejiang province. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching. See you next time.